Muskegon Big Reds. At this time, we represent a group who entertains you all before the game, during halftime, and even after the game. Ladies and gentlemen, the Big Red Marching Band. The band's duties go beyond the football games. They have marching band competitions that they compete in. This year they represented MHS very well. They were the first place band out of a total of 35 bands at the Jensen Marching Invitational. And now, with the opener from that award-winning show, here's Lakeisha Harrison and the band performing Stormy Weather with Michelle Gibson, soloist. Marching Band is under the direction of Mr. James L. Lawrence, Field Commanders Lakeisha Harrison and Philip Sullivan, and Color Guard Captain Sarah Moblow. Also from their competition show, the band will now perform Begin the Begin with Karen Tompkins, Oldest Black, and the MHS percussion section as soloists. None other than our own Muskegon Mayor, the Honorable Kruze, who will serve as Master of Ceremonies.
Well, thank you, David. Good evening, Big Red fans. Isn't that band tremendous? Let's give them another hand there. You know, they've established a level of excellence. They're superlative. They're just, no one ever is going to surpass that Muskegon Band. When I went to high school back in 1906, I played the violin. For some reason, they would never let me in the marching band. I couldn't understand that, but I thought it would be kind of unique if they'd let a violinist in the band. But at that time, Mr. Lawrence wasn't around. I'm sure he would now if I were back there with my violin. But anyway, we're all here tonight to salute what is the greatest football team in the state of Michigan this year. That's the Muskegon Big Reds. How about that? But we want to take just a moment to salute the fans. You know, there are two types of fans. I call one what I call the stadium quarterbacks. And I talked to Coach Taylor a little while ago, and you know, he said, we quarterbacks up there would yell down and tell him what to do. And he said he owed part of his success that he listened to us and did just the opposite. Whatever we told him to do, he called the opposite play, and his play worked every time. So he wanted to thank us. But seriously, we do want to thank all the fans. You know, they talk about the home team advantage, but it makes a big difference when there's a lot of people out there saying, come on, you guys, we're behind you all the way. And I think that the players, the coaching staff, everyone connected with the high school and the school administration wants you to know that they certainly appreciate your support, and also they value it very, very much. So at this time, as they say, the piece de resistance, or the reason you're here tonight, is to honor this great Muskegon High School Class A football team. So let's bring them on with a great welcome, the football team and the coaching staff. Come on, let's hear it. That the sign you see here, home of the Big Reds, will be on every signpost as you come into the city of Muskegon. So, we're going to let everybody know that this is the home of the Michigan Class A State Championship football team. And here they are right here. Naturally, success brings awards. So we do have a few people tonight that wish to make some presentations, and we'll introduce them. The first is Mr. Ted Olson, President of the Muskegon Board of Education. Mr. Olson has the coat, I have the trousers tonight. Ted Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution was drafted and signed by the Board of Education honoring the 1989 Class A State Football Champion, Muskegon Big Reds, and the coaching staff. The resolution also commends the athletic department, the cheerleaders, the music program, student body, fan, and community support. The resolution contains the usual whereases and now therefore be resolved verbiage. In part, the resolution reads, whereas the season was concluded at the Pontiac Silverdome on November 25th, 1989 with a 16-13 state championship victory, accompanied by a musical performance without equal and fan support and sportsmanship unmatched in our state. On behalf of the Muskegon Board of Education, I would like to commend the Big Red football team for a distinguished season as both players and sportsmen and fine young men, both on and off the gridiron. You all made Muskegon proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. And now it's my pleasure to introduce a former member of the Muskegon Board of Education and now a city commissioner, Commissioner Balnche Smith, representing the city of Muskegon.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I'm very happy to be here. I was really happy when I got a call and said the mayor was going to be the MC, so that gave me a chance to do something that I'd like to do in behalf of the city of Muskegon for the Big Red. I have a resolution from the city of Muskegon City Commission, whereas it gives the city commission and the citizens of the city of Muskegon great pleasure to express our sincere congratulations to the Muskegon High School varsity's football team's 1989 state football championship. And whereas this has been an exciting, hard-fought, and successful Big Red football season, and the city of Muskegon is very proud of the record you've earned for our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we are pleased to publicly commend the state championship Muskegon Big Reds Coach David Taylor and his coaching staff for winning the state championship for their school and our city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Commission, on behalf of all our citizens, do hereby extend this expression of our pride in your accomplishment of winning the Class A football title on November 25th, 1989. This is signed by the Mayor and all the City Commissioners for the City of Muskegon. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. It is now my pleasure to introduce an old friend of mine, a man that I served with on the County Board of Commissioners. I left, but he's been there for over 20 years. He's the chairman of the board of the Muskegon County Commissioners, Mr. Herman Ivory.
Good afternoon, all you Big Red fans. I put it that way because I started to wear my colors tonight. My colors have been orange and black because I'm a Okie Johnson Tiger. But seriously, on behalf of the county government, it's an honor and a pleasure to me to say to this team, the band, the members of the faculty, and mothers and fathers, you have made us proud, us meaning the county. The mayor spoke of the city, I speak of the county. We did, and I will try to read how we feel on county government about this school and the leadership. Whereas the Muskegon Biz Red recently captured the state championship football, whereas Coach Taylor and his squad posted a 16-13 win over #1 rated defensive team, Detroit Martin Luther King, to bring home the prestigious honor of being named state champions of the state of Michigan. Whereas Muskegon's victory marked the 4th time in 5 years the Class A state championship has been won by a member of the former Lake Michigan Athletic Conference. Whereas the leadership and team spirit displayed on the football field demonstrated what togetherness and the will to win can do. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners does hereby congratulate Coach Taylor, and the Muskegon Big Reds for their outstanding season and state championship. Be it further resolved that the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of the citizens' wishes Coach Taylor and the entire squad many years of success. Signed by myself, carrying the county seal.
Thank you, Commissioner Ivory. It's always a pleasure to receive a nice seal like that from the county. Now I'd like to introduce a gentleman who's relatively new to Muskegon. He's been here about a year, but he's just a great part of this organization of the city of Muskegon and the whole county of Muskegon. His name is Makowski, and he's the chairman, and really the president and chief executive officer of the Muskegon Economic Growth Alliance, better known to everyone as MEGA. Mr. Makowski.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure for MEGA to have the opportunity to participate in this ceremony this evening. We also have a resolution which we will be presenting, but more than talking about whereases and wherefores, I think it's important to notice that this evening, those of us who are in a leadership role have a role reversal tonight. Instead of us trying to set an example for the youth of this area, we have the opportunity to take from them an example. Coach Taylor, you and your staff and the team have set a very fine example for this area. You've shown that by working together, by overcoming setbacks and adversity, and believing in yourselves, that you can come out winners. So this evening, as you savor this moment, do so from two aspects. One, take this as an example of what you should do for the rest of your lives. Be winners, but most importantly, do it from the concept of recognizing that you have set an example for this entire area to also be winners and overcome adversity. Thank you.
Very much, Mike. It's now my pleasure to introduce a friend of mine, what I call the best state representative we've ever had. And gentlemen, you're in good company because this man wears an Olympic gold medal. Few people know that, but he's quite an athlete. So it's a distinct pleasure for me to introduce to you ML Mickey Knight, your state representative.
Thank you. I'd like to present this to the Muskegon High School football Class A team. Resolution sponsored by Senator Phil Arthur, Olson League, honoring the 1989 Class A champions. Senator Phil wasn't able to be here tonight. He's the Senate Majority Floor Leader. We're still in session. He's preparing the agenda for tomorrow. The resolution I'm presenting honors the Big Red football team. But recognition should also be given to the thousands of supportive fans, particularly the Big Red Band. And Jim Lawrence, you're always a champion in this state, and so is the Muskegon Big Red Band. The congratulations to the community, to the cheerleaders, to the parents, the administration, to everyone connected with Muskegon and Muskegon High School, because all have played a large role in the success of this team, helped the Big Reds become a powerhouse that's respected throughout the state. We're all proud of the strong, positive image that you, the cheerleaders, all those connected, have presented throughout the state. You've represented our community well, both on and off the field. You've displayed teamwork, you've shown the dedication it takes to be victorious. And as Mike Makowski said, we can take you as a very fine example. Hard work, dedication, and teamwork, this community can be victorious. On behalf of the Michigan Legislature, I would like to congratulate Muskegon High School Big Reds football team, 1989 Class A football champions, and present this joint resolution.
Thank you, Mickey. Whereas the whereases are now through, hereby be it resolved, it's time for a little entertainment. So it's my Even these people back here are clapping now. It's my pleasure to present the Big Red Indian, Mr. Vanderstelt. Let's hear it. And now what you really came for was to meet the coaching staff and honor these fine young gentlemen who brought this great honor to our city. You know, Coach Taylor is not a financier, but he can add 1 and 1. He knows that equals 2. 2 state champions. And based on that record, you have to say that he's one of the outstanding coaches in the state of Michigan. So it's my pleasure to introduce your head coach, David Taylor.
Before we get started here tonight, I'd like to take just a minute to introduce to you 2/3 of my family that's followed me year to year, where these kids just had me 2 or 3 years. My wife has had me for 22 years, and to put up with me for that long during the football season is quite difficult. At this time, I don't know where she's at, but Shirley, would you stand up, please? And my daughter, Mitzi. This year had a class tonight. You could not be able to be here. I'd like to take this time to thank the Mega Group, Mayor Kruze and the City of Muskegon, our Muskegon Board of Education, and our school administration for organizing this event and for honoring our fine athletes here at Muskegon High School. I'd like to thank Dr. Fugate and Bill Yonkers, our team doctor and his trainer. I'd like to thank our security staff, Bill Clement, Scotty Manag, Eddie Gredisher, our film coach, Tom Shalacki, Ernie Warner, our stats, our Big Red Football Club fundraisers, Russ Swanson, Vern Crump, and Terry Coy. And they just did a tremendous job this year, and we were awful lucky because when we first started the year, I told the kids, we have 4 goals. Number 1, the offense scores 3 times. I don't care how you do it, they score 3 times. The defense holds them to 1 score. Defense has to hold them to under 100 yards rushing and under 75-yard passing. If you do that, every Monday after practice, we'll have a free half a pizza and all the pop you can drink each time you do that. I had no idea they were going to do it 7 times. So one thing, our kids got a lot of pizza this year. I'd like to thank Mary Almer, the sports editor of the Muskegon Chronicle, and the 2 writers that followed us, Cindy Fairfield and Tom Kendra. I thought the support that they gave our football team and our coverage that we've got was fantastic. I'd like to thank our scouting staff, Sam Santamore and Jerry Eaton, who did all our scouting in the tournament. we only had one film, and that was on Escanaba. The last 3 teams, we could not get into a film exchange, and we just couldn't get a film from any other schools, and the scouting report that they gave really helped us in those ball games. I'd also like to thank our superintendent of schools, Mr. Agee. I don't know of another superintendent in the state of Michigan who would come down on the Silverdome turf and ride around on our players' shoulders, signaling #1, and get his picture in the Detroit Free Press as he did. I'd like to thank all our school employees, custodians, and especially a good friend of mine who can't be here tonight, Larry Harp. You know, I've received many, many letters, and they all talk about the program, Well, the backbone of our program is Larry Harp, without a doubt. I'd like to thank the cheerleaders for their support all year, the band, and most of all, I'd like to thank you fans for supporting us from day 1 all the way through the Silverdome. Give yourself a hand. You deserve it. When we came out of the tunnel there at the Silverdome, and our kids, we gave them 2 or 3 minutes to go out there, look around, find your parents, your girlfriends, whatever, and then we'll get down to serious business. When we came out, that whole section was filled with red and white, and there's no question that that gave our kids a big lift. And just like we're having a home football game, the cheering that we've got. When things got going tough there in the 4th quarter, I'm not sure without you fans that we could have pulled it out. With 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go, and our #1 cheerleader, Freddie Townsend, out there in the field, really got you people going, and I know that that gave us the support to hang on to that ball game. When we started the season back in August against Kentwood, we didn't know what we were going to have. We thought we had a fine ball club, but we really didn't know. We had a lot of untested individuals in the offensive line. We plugged in some people on defense who didn't have a lot of experience we didn't know. We started out defeating a fine Kentwood team, 20-6. They never lost another ball game. They went on to win their OK Red championship. Our next game, we played Grand Rapids, Ottawa Hills. Grand Rapids, Ottawa Hills had a fine ball club. They lost one other game, and then we beat that team 55-6. The first home game against Traverse City was one of the finest efforts that I've seen the Muskegon Big Red team give for their opening performance. To defeat the defending state champion 44-7, that says a lot. And that gave us a clue that we were going to have a fine football team. Against Saginaw Arthur Hill, you know, we didn't play that poorly. What Saginaw Arthur Hill did was found a weakness that we had that we weren't prepared for. As a coaching staff, we didn't prepare our individuals for that type of formation, and they got the most out of it. After that game, we made some adjustments, and then from there, our defense just started to snowball. And we didn't work on it, but the kids never gave up. The defense started to work harder and harder, and things got better and better. We ended the season over at Mona Shores, and we played probably one of the finest second halves that we played all year. By playing a fine second half, I mean in blocking. When we block and we knock people down, our backs are going to score, and that's just what happened in the second half. It wasn't that Mona Shores played that poorly, it was that our kids went out there and knocked their kids down, and that entitled our backs to run. In the first playoff game against Escanaba, we didn't know what to expect. All the way up there, we were driving in that snowstorm, and of course we have the speedy backs, and we thought we were going to be in 2 or 3 or 4 inches of snow, so we really didn't know what was going to happen until we got there. Our kids really sucked it up in that cold, and they beat a fine Escanaba team 23-0. At that time was #2 in the state. The next week, in their regional final, we played another great defensive team. They touted Midland, who was at that time the conference champs of Saginaw Valley, one of the greatest defensive teams in that area. We beat them 9-0. In the Snow Bowl, in the semifinal, I think our kids just were better skaters or whatever because we did pretty well against Lansing Sexton. Our goal that the seniors to get to the Dome and win. After the Lansing-Sexton game, you know, we were in the Dome. And after a while, we let the kids celebrate, and we didn't talk about winning until Monday of practice. And then we said, gentlemen, we're not just going there to be in the Dome. We're going there to win the state championship. And we went to work. For you people that were at the Silver Dome, you witnessed one of Muskegon's greatest wins ever. Muskegon ranks third nationally in all-time wins. And when you can take a group of young men such as these kids right here, and this win is going to rank in the top 4 or 5% of all those wins, it says a lot. Martin Luther King had a great football team. One sports writer said it was the greatest team in Detroit ever. They've got 18 Class A schools in the city of Detroit. 18. And this is going to be one of their all-time best teams. They had 10 Division I players. They averaged 39 points a game. And they were a fine group of young men. When we started our meeting on Sunday morning to get ready for this game, I walked into the scouting room and you could hear a pin drop. Coach Davros was putting the defense up on his board. Coach Fett was over on his board, and Jerry Eaton was taking some notes, and Sam Sanamore was just kind of reading over his. I walked into the room, and you could hear a pin drop. And I said, I don't understand it. I said, gee, we just beat Sexton. We're into the Dome. How things look so glum here? Well, I looked at Coach Davros, and he said, Coach, defensively, they're as tough as can be. They set a all-time Class A record with 10 shutout victories this past year. I talked to Jimmy Fett. He said, Coach, he said, they're averaging like 40 points a game. He said, they run the ISOs up the middle. They run the blast. They are tough, and they are big. Well, Sam Sanamore has done a lot of scouting for me over the years, and I turned to Sam, and I said, Sam, give me the real down low on this ball team. He said, Coach, he said, I'll be very honest with you. He said, I don't know how you're going to beat them. It really got us thinking that we were in for a real war. And we got our heads together and we came up with a game plan that we were just trying to keep the game close and try to win it at the end. You know, we never knew Marcus was going to run 89 yards for a touchdown on the kickoff. You don't count on those things happening. And so we just went out and we changed some things we normally don't do, and we just tried to keep the game close. And our kids ran through our game plan in great fashion. And it was just a real tribute to our kids. With 6 minutes and 42 seconds, I think when we called that last time out, when they were going to go down there and try to score again, went out to talk to the defense, and they were really down. I mean, some of our kids had really taken a beating from those bigger kids. And we just had one last minute conversation. Say, looked at the clock, and we said, we got to hang in there for 6:42, gentlemen, and everything we work for is going to be ours. And I had to pick on someone to get the team rattled up, and Anthony Brown could hardly even stand over there. He was the one that this 6'5", 295-pound Primus kept trapping on that counterplay. And his eye was all puff closed, and I'm screaming and hollering, and Anthony and Freddie starts jumping in, and pretty soon we're all excited, and I turn around and you people are all excited. And I'll tell you, it was a great lift to our kids, and we hung in there. A lot of the credit for our success this year goes to my assistant coaches. We had 3 new coaches this year to start the year out. All 3 new to Class A football. 2 of them had never coached on the varsity level ever before. They worked hard. It took a while for our staff to come together and to work as a unit. And last, I'd just like to thank them for putting up with me. One thing that I don't have a lot of tolerance is for things to go wrong on a practice field. And like Coach Dern was walking around telling people that working with Coach Taylor ain't been easy. But I really appreciate the effort that those fine young men have given me. At this time, I'd like to introduce my assistant coaches and have them step forward, and then we'll pass out the awards. Our head man and the guy that tells me what I can do and what I can't do has been here 27 years, Coach Fugate. Coach Fugate really deserves a round of credit. I mean, you people don't understand that before the game and during halftime, we've got kids in the training room at these different parks, and he's giving ultrasound to this kid and rubbing this kid's back and working on this kid. He held this team together because we really played some great defensive teams, and they really took its toll. My next coach, my offensive coordinator, Mark Jolivet. Mark came in this year, and I know he just did an outstanding job. Mark is one of the finest young coaches around, and I just hope that we can keep him here at Muskegon for a few more years. If I can just get him so he's not so pass happy, I'll be much better off. Next is Arthur Duran. Art Duran came over from Steele Junior High, and Art was our special teams coach, and I got this little story to tell you. This is the first year in 4 or 5 years we've really had a good kicker. So against, I think it was East Kentwood, the first time we line up to kick the PAT, we kick it with only 10 guys on the field, and I go bananas. I mean, here we got a kicker, we're trying to kick it, and ours only got 10 guys on the field. So I ran down, I grabbed Art, screaming and hollering at him. He said, "Coach, I told him to go out there." I said, "Coach, the next time you take him out there and put him out there." I said, "We got a kicker, we want to take advantage of this." 2 games later, every time we'd cross the 50-yard line, I'd hear Coach Duran going up and down, PAT, 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 and we always had 11 people on the field after that. The next coach is Nick Davros. Nick worked with our JV staff, who recorded its first undefeated season in 17 years, Coach? 17 years. Nick also did a lot of our scouting and worked with our scout teams in the last 4 weeks of the season. Jimmy Fett, an assistant, had to work tonight and was unable to be here. The last coach is Troy Champagne, who worked with our scout teams in preparing for the upcoming opponent. Okay, in passing out these awards, I like to do it in groups. And the first group that's going to be up is going to be the sophomores that we brought up to the varsity for the tournament run. These 10 young men will receive their JV awards, but they did come up and give us competition to help get ready. The first one is the water boy, Tim Hall. Number 68, Robert Gonzalez, a linebacker. Number 71, Heath Stark, defensive end. Number 74, Mike Lindstrom, offense and defensive tackle. Number 76, Chris Dodge, offense and defensive tackle. Number 51, Todd Novak, center. Number 18, Willie Gordon, safety. Number 12, Tom Jenkins, quarterback. Number 30, Gary Buchanan, halfback. And those are the sophomores that came up the last 4 weeks and gave us a hand. The first sophomore that was with us all year and really came on as a person and also as a football player. Number 16, Corey Sanders, a defensive safety. Corey will be playing a lot of football next year for us in the defensive backfield. Number 53, Robert Dozier. Robert Dozier was an offensive guard, offensive tackle. Next year will probably be a center. And this next young fine man gave me more of these gray hairs than I want to account for. Number 82, my man, Lamont Blackman. Lamont, in the playoffs, played real well against Escanaba in the defensive line. In the snowball over at Western Michigan, he played a lot. And on first and second downs, he played an awful lot. And he came a long way. And we plan on big things from Lamont next year. The next young man was so excited about going to the Dome as a sophomore that he left his jersey home in his locker. He came up to me and he said, "Coach, I don't have my jersey." I said, "Well, Derek, you don't play. That's all there is to it." And I went right on talking to David Newsome, and he just sat there, didn't go away. He said, "Coach, you didn't hear me. I don't have my jersey." So I said, "Okay, David, we always carry a couple of extra jerseys. So if you people wondered who 43 was, he wasn't 43. He was really 42. Derek Bailey, defensive back, who played extremely well for us the last part of the season. The last sophomore that we brought up that helped us in our playoff bid was a running back on the JVs. We brought him in and put him as an inside linebacker on our 40-wide defense. And Gary had 6 key sacks in the tournament run. And he had many other times that he was there and just missed the quarterback. But that was number 44, Gary Cheatham, that was chasing those quarterbacks. Kids. When I got down to the Dome, I got the kids in the locker room and I walked out to see how much time was left in the D game, and just then Martin Luther King just happened to get down out of the stands and walked by me. I mean, every one of those kids had 18, 19, 20-inch necks, 230, 240, 260 pounds. And we've got these little kids chasing them around. It's unbelievable. Those are the sophomores that played for us all year. All right, next we'll introduce the juniors to you. The first one is number 24, safety Derek Williams. Dietrich Williams. Number 21, Sam Cunningham. Sam was a running back, and he hurt his ankle about midway through the season. He's had an awful hard time coming back. He'll be ready to go next year. Number 35, our mouth of our football team, Yvonne Starr. In fact, Yvonne has such an interest in her sophomore. He said, "Coach, I love to ride in that van behind the bus all the time." So that's where he rode. I found out later his mother will not let him talk at home. So as soon as he came to practice, opened the door, all I did was flap that mouth. I'll tell you, it drove me nuts. So I've talked to his mother. We're going to let him talk half the time at home and half the time at practice next year. Number 77, number 20, Marcus Conley. Marcus, as a wide receiver, has got good hands. We expect big things from him next year. Number 77, John Ellis. Defensive tackle. We can get John to get motivated. We expect big things from him next year. Number 36, Brandon Wynn. You know, one of the things that I really admire about this team is how we really didn't have a whole lot of superstars. We just had a lot of guys doing their job. The week that we played King, Brandon was their 205-pound fullback that did all the ISO blocking on our linebackers. And I'll tell you, he took some hits from our kids that were just unbelievable. But it all paid off because when Childers got those hits on their fullback, that cut that play right down for us. And Brandon just did the job all week long. And I appreciate that. Number 23, Johnny Martin, wide receiver. I think as a person, Johnny Martin really came a long ways this football season. I had some problems with Johnny late in the season, and we had to send him down for a game. And 3 times, Coach Delavec yelled for Johnny Martin. And the 3rd time he yelled for him, I said, Coach, I told you, Martin's out for this ball game. He said, Coach, I don't have anyone else. I said, well, Mark, put the punt team in punt, we'll play defense. They said, well, we set someone down, we're not going to play him. Well, I think that Johnny Martin, he apologized to the team for his actions, and he came back, and he made 4 of the key catches, 1 in each game, that made us get a first down or score in the playoffs. I think that's what high school football is all about. Number 56, Brandon Lefebvre. Brandon was number, I believe, 81 in the dome. We switched him to an M because we needed some bigger people to try to block their bigger people. And he did a nice job for us. Number 14, Juwan Childers. Juwan Childers was beyond Anthony because I had his 2 brothers back in '86, Cedric and Jeffrey. Of course, they never did a thing wrong, and he's got some big shoes to fill. But if you'd have seen Anthony after that game, I mean, it just brought tears to your eyes. In fact, we got on the bus and we carried him on the bus because he was so beat up. The offensive tackle that he was playing across from was 6'5", 245, and then that big premise kid would come and trap him every other play, and he was 6'7", 295. And poor old Anthony just did his job. He got down underneath there and plugged up the hole, and he just took one heck of a beating. But it was just another example of all the parts of the defense got to work for the whole thing to work. And so after, on the bus, the kids were teasing him, and old Anthony just turned around and he said, you could have had that job anytime you wanted it. No one took it. Number 8, Eric Singh. Eric is a 2-way player for us, starting fullback, linebacker. He had an injury in the middle of the season there. He missed a couple of games. And I thought as we got into the playoffs, Eric's play became stronger and stronger and stronger, both offensively and defensively. And he had a fine ball game in the dome. And last but not least of the juniors, number 59, David Woods. David Woods, a 2-way player, starting defensive tackle, an offensive guard, and David Woods is by far one of the finest offensive blocking guards that I've ever coached in high school football. It's a real tribute to him because he works hard at it, it's important, and he was one of our real team leaders for us this year. And those are the juniors for 1989. Before I get into the seniors, I'd like Marcus and Rufus to come up to give a special dedication, please.
There were many people who helped our team achieve the 1989 Class A championship. One man who sticks out among these is the athletic director, Larry Harp. For all of his help, we thank him.
Mr. Harp goes above and beyond his daily duties. He is quite often working after hours and weekends. On this, our victory celebration, the coaches, the staff and players of the Big Red football team wish to dedicate this evening to Mr. Larry Harp. Because Mr. Harp could not be with us this evening, we now ask his son Todd and his daughter Lori to accept this plaque of our appreciation.